Give you a status update tonight on an 8-game slate. Jimmy Butler back in the lineup tonight. J.J. Redick out, though, with a back injury. Dennis Schroeder, who has been a big part of the Thunder's success, is questionable tonight for the game you'll see on NBA TV on Players Only. Now, Devin Booker doubtful for a big game tonight for the Suns. Meanwhile, Sean Livingston out for the game against the Knicks, which is the second half of our Players Only doubleheader tonight at 10:30 Eastern. Whole slew of injuries tonight for the Pacers. But the only one that appears to be out is Miles Turner. Darren Collison and Corey Joseph both expected to play tonight for Indiana. Derrick Rose out. Robert Covington also out for Minnesota. So not the full bench available for Ryan Saunders in his head coaching debut. Gary Harris is listed right now as a game-time decision for their matchup in Miami tonight. And Danny Green's going to be out. So, as I mentioned earlier, how about the Toronto Raptors keeping Van Fleet in the lineup? He had filled in for Kawhi, filled in for Lowry. Now with both of them in the lineup, Danny Green out, Van Fleet is going to start once again. Let's take you around the NBA and get you set for some of the bigger games on this 8-game night. The Cavs taking on Indiana. They've lost 9 in a row, has Cleveland. One win over the last 13, and that win was against the Pacers. Cedi Osman had the tip in. Pacers coming off the loss, and again, with all these injuries, we'll see how healthy they can be, but we'll see defensively if they're able to slow down the Cavs tonight. Meanwhile, Washington playing in Philadelphia. Philadelphia will have their full complement of guys minus J.J. Redick. Philly comes in having won 3 in a row and 6 of 8. We'll see how the offenses run tonight. Will there be more isolation to cater to Jimmy Butler or more ball and man movement like Coach Brown likes to play with? In Miami tonight, we'll see if the Heat can keep this going. Somehow, some way, Miami's won 3 of 4, and Justice Winslow's been a real good run of the point. They'll try and take advantage of the Nuggets playing on the second night of a back-to-back, and not only a second night of a back-to-back, but after losing an hour flying from Houston to South Florida late last night. Meanwhile, tonight in Toronto, is it the last time we see Vince Carter? Show you some flashbacks of some of the best of Vince Carter in 7 seasons playing for the Raptors. He is one of the greats. There's no question about it in Raptor history what he has done. He changed the culture. He changed the awareness. Vince Carter was a game changer for Canadian basketball. Brian Geltzeiler, SiriusXM NBA Radio. Hawks in Toronto tonight. It could be Vince Carter's last game there, unless you feel like he's got a few more years left in him.
I think it's probably his last game there, Jared. I mean, he's had an illustrious career. One of the beautiful parts about Vince Carter's career is the grace in which he graduated into being a role player. It's so difficult for guys that are stars at his level to accept the fact they're not who they are anymore. They don't have that ability to take over a game. The athleticism isn't there like it once was. Carter was so graceful in taking that role in Dallas and being able to be the sixth man. And now he's just been an elder statesman that's been able to help some younger teams. An amazing career for an amazing guy, and really just always handled himself with the utmost of class, Jared.
One of the very few men who have scored 25,000 points in their NBA career. Now, many feel this is blasphemy, and I feel it's blasphemy that you and I agree on something here, Geltzy, but we're going to rank them. The top 5 greatest Raptors of all time. Not much history in this organization over just 2 decades, but Geltzy, here's my top 5 ranking of Raptors of all time. I go with the guy who's played the most games, scored the most points, won the most playoff games, and was the first guy to say, you know what? I will re-sign and play here despite other teams wanting me in the U.S. Kyle Lowry right behind him on most statistical categories and right there winning those playoff games. Vince Carter, I know he was a culture changer, but he won 1 playoff series. These 2 guys won 4 of them, and if it wasn't for LeBron James, they may have gone to an NBA Finals or 2. Chris Bosh will put in 4, and I'll put in Kawhi at 5. If you're going to tell me that Vince Carter is part of a culture change, well, so is Kawhi. Geltzy, got any problems with my list?
The only issue I have is that you have a guy on that list who's played less than 3 months of basketball with that team as one of their top 5 all-time guys.
Come on.
I got a little bit of an issue
They've only been in the league for like 23 years.
I hear you, but come on. I mean, the guy's been there for less than 3 months.
Well, let's take a look at your list and see how bad your list is, Geltzy, here. You got DeRozan at number 1, right? Do we agree? Listen, we know Vince Carter changed the culture, but statistically, and when you talk about winning being the most important thing, Geltzy, how is DeRozan not the best player of all time?
I totally agree. DeRozan he changed the culture there. He grew up in that organization, and he made that a desirable place to go. Wanted to stay there in the worst way. It has to be him. I have Carter second because he put Toronto basketball on the map, and I think it's relevant, and I think it matters. Yes, he only won one playoff series, but he made people want to pay attention to the Toronto Raptors. And quite frankly, Kyle Lowry landed a little lower on my list because I think this year, the way he's handled not having his buddy DeRozan and having Kawhi Leonard and really kind of undercutting, in my opinion, a little bit, their chances to be the best team in the East with his lack of acceptance of Leonard is an enormous issue to me and has him down at 4, where maybe he would have been higher otherwise.
All right, Kelsey, real quick, let's go to settle this. I mentioned in our prior segment the issue here where Mark Stein of the New York Times is reporting that the league is going to look into the situation with Patrick McCaw, where by the letter of the law, it appears the Cavaliers and the agent, Bill Duffy, did nothing wrong here by signing and then almost immediately releasing Patrick McCaw. What do you think comes of this? Was it just petty play by the Cavs to try and, essentially get back at the Warriors for all those championships?
Well, no, I don't think it was that as much as I think what it was is the Cavs figured if we can pry him loose from the Warriors on a non-guaranteed deal with this offer sheet, then maybe we can get him back at a little bit of a cheaper number just for this year or pay him more money and have him on just a one-year deal. I think that was kind of what they thought. The thing is this, I don't know that the league has to look into it. I don't know the league can do anything about it right now. It's an enormous loophole that will be repaired in the next CBA. We won't hear about it from a headline standpoint, but believe me, there will be no more offer sheets for restricted free agents that are non-guaranteed in the next CBA.
Correct, because listen, as much as people want to focus on what this did to the Warriors because they were unable to match this deal, it also, for Patrick McCaw, gets him to next summer as an unrestricted free agent. He very well may sign right now on a minimum deal with some team, but most importantly for Patrick McCaw, he may be able to cash in next summer, which truly was not an option for him over the summer when the Warriors had the option to match a potential deal.
And the other thing is this, he didn't want to be in Golden State anymore. For whatever reason, this was not a place where he felt like he was appreciated. He wanted more of a role. He took a step back last year. He had that bad back injury. So this really, in the end, was a huge favor for Bill Duffy and Patrick McCaw going into next summer.
Ryan Geltziler, SiriusXM NBA Radio. We'll check you out on the radio. Appreciate you joining us here on 10 Before Tip, presented by Ford. Plenty more to come here on this edition. We'll give you a little Say What action. Plus, get you ready for more of the night's action, including a players-only doubleheader, which features Karl Anthony Towns and his new interim head coach, Ryan Saunders, taking on the Thunder.
What do I like? Yeah, life, food, my dog, my family, my friends, my home, my health.
He's licking his chops. Oh, he fell down.
It was one of the top. It kind of caught me off guard a little bit. How far he fell. I just tried to knock down the shot after.
My hobbies, movies, video games, and being able to do this for a living is pretty special.
Get him going, Mo! Get him going, Mo! Come on! Let's go, Junior! Let's go! Let's go! You're doing a great job, man. Hang in there.
Say what? Take it courtside. Nuggets, second night of a back-to-back, 4-1 this season. Jokic, the MVP candidate in Miami this evening. Meanwhile, Ben Simmons coming off the 6th triple-double of the season. We've got the Sixers taking on the Wizards. Philadelphia comes in winners of 6 of 8. You've got a players-only doubleheader. Minnesota OKC, followed by the Knicks and Warriors. They're coming up right at the top of the hour. Hope to see you back here tomorrow night for more 10 Before Tip at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Enjoy your Tuesday night of hoops.
Warriors. Now, the second half of our players-only doubleheader Tuesday night features those Warriors hosting the New York Knicks. The Warriors sit in second, currently in the Western Conference, but they've posted their worst mark in the Steve Kerr era through these first 40 games. What do you attribute that to? Are you concerned at this point?
I'm not really concerned. Obviously, people aren't used to seeing 6 home losses for Golden State already, not used to seeing them in the 3rd position in the Western Conference. But it is a grinding thing to go through, and Kevin can attest to this. When you're a championship caliber team, and every year, every team is hunting for you, you're the biggest game on certain teams' schedule every night out. It eventually gets to you. because you have to perform at a championship level. And you slip up just a little bit, that opponent is playing at the top level against you that particular night. They've had some injuries. They have some guys going through some tough stretches. They'll bring it back together. But right now, it's going to take a little time, and they may have help coming on the way.
Yes, that they do. And DeMarcus Cousins, that was the perfect segue, by the way. There's still no timetable set for his return, but he was a full participant in Warriors practice again on Monday. I got to stop calling you guys coach, because coach and coach. Okay, Coach McHale, what do you think that Boogie's going to bring to this team?
They'll be better offensively with Boogie on the floor because he's a great passer. He can play out on top of the key. He can make passes. He's a big body. He sets screens. He can get guys open. I think he also understands ball and body movement. I think he's got a good basketball IQ on the offensive end. Defensively wise is where I get concerned with him on the floor. They switch a lot of stuff. And, man, you're going to have a hard time switching a lot of these pick and rolls with DeMarcus Cousins. So with Boogie, you're going to have to figure out what kind of scheme do you want. Are you going to push it, ice it down the baseline? He's going to have to get in that position, guard two for a while.
Fast.
Is he going to show and recover? And so there's a lot of things that they got to do with him defensively that will be different. My concern with Golden State, though, overall, isn't, you can say they're not playing well. Green hasn't really hit stride. I watch them play, and there's some funkiness out there. There's some sideways glances of things going on, and they're just like they had a little bit of that scrum in the huddle between Green and KD. That usually either brings a team together and everybody goes like, hey, you're right, we got to play better. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard them say, no, we've made amends, we've done this. And a couple things hurt teams on a playoff run. Usually it's injuries and age. You get older, you have your run, it's over. In today's game, it's free agency. And then, man, it's internal bickering. That's the one that I'm always worried about, because everybody starts looking around thinking, man, who's going to be here next year? What's going on next year? Is KD going to, all this stuff. And that hurts a team. You got to be singly focused to win a championship, and that's win every single game you play in and compete at a high level every night.
Well, we're going to be back with a whole lot more from our NBA TV studios next, including live looks from around the league. Elsewhere on this 8-game Monday night, the Spurs are looking to extend a 4-game winning streak as they head to Detroit to take on the Pistons.